Hi, everyone. Welcome to Social 5 University. We're going to be talking about Twitter basics today. I just want to do a quick sound and visual check. If you can hear and see everything all right, go ahead and raise your hand or send me a note through chat or something like that. Okay, great. Awesome. I see a couple of hands going up. Wonderful. Okay, so with that in mind, we'll go ahead and get started. As always, if you have questions as we're going along, please feel free to ask. I am recording this session so you can watch it later at your convenience if you need to, and we'll go ahead and get started. And we'll, of course, do a Q&A at the end as well. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. Quick overview. So we're going to talk about some of the different terms that we use on Twitter, how to optimize your profile on Twitter to make sure it's fits you and gives an accurate description of you. Some strategies for gaining followers, and how to take advantage of some of these trends that happen on Twitter where these trending topics come along. So let's start off with some of these terminologies. Every social medium likes to have its own little way of doing things, and so where on Facebook you may have a post, on Twitter you're going to have a tweet, and things like that. And sometimes we throw these terms around, and if you're ever confused about what we're talking about, feel free to ask for some clarification, because they do get a little jargony and confusing sometimes. So the first thing we want to talk about is a tweet. It's just a post on Twitter, but for some reason, instead of calling it a post like every other social medium does, they call it a tweet. They're usually no more than 140 characters long, and if a tweet has been shared from another person's profile, you usually would say that you're put a little abbreviation that says RT in there, indicating that it's been retweeted. Now, Twitter is always working on this and changing some things, and they have recently introduced a retweet button where you can press that button and it will show that you've retweeted something from the original source. And the reason you do that is because you don't want to attribute a quote or something like that someone else has said to yourself. You want to give credit to the original person who tweeted it. Now, we also got word this week that Twitter may be changing its 140 character limit when you're posting photos or links to articles or things like that. So they haven't done that yet, but we'll kind of stay tuned and see where it goes and what happens with that. So could be a chance to be a little more verbose on Twitter if you need to be. Here's another big one that we get asked all the time is, what is a hashtag? These are really kind of the secret ingredient to trending on Twitter. And they're basically used to categorize content and make it easier for people to find the topic that they're interested in. And what you'll see is they use this pound sign or the hashtag sign to as a tag to search for a particular post. So you would put a hashtag on something, and like say I wanted to do a hashtag for social 5. I would put hashtag social 5, and that way if I put that in into Twitter, all of the tags that or all of the tweets that have social 5 hashtag will show up in my feed. I come from the library world, so I like to think of this as the way, the Dewey Decimal System that we put on the side of a book. If you just send your tweet out with no hashtags on it or anything, it's like a book in the library that's sitting there but doesn't have any categorization. It's sitting there, but nobody can find it to check it out. So by putting these tags on, it's giving that location for your tweet and making it so people can find that information. So I hope that's a helpful analogy and helps you guys a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit more about this and some of the trends as we come down the road here. Now, the other thing you're going to see a lot on Twitter is this @ sign. And this symbol is used to target individuals on Twitter and allows content to show up on their Twitter feed. So your username is going to have the @ sign and then whatever your username is. So for me, mine is @Kate Drake. It's K8 Drake, right? So @Kate Drake. And if you wanted to tweet something to me on Twitter, you would put that on there and send it out. And people can do the same to you. They can tag you and send you a tweet, and that way you'll be notified that someone has mentioned you. So that's kind of the basics there of the three things that you're going to see the most of on Twitter. Now, something that we really recommend that you do is optimize your profile on social media. And the reason you want to do that is it makes it more searchable by search engines, and it also will tell a little bit about your company and make sure that people know something about you when they start following you. So the first thing you're going to do is to log into your Twitter account by going to twitter.com. And you can do this on a smartphone or a iPad or something, but whenever you're doing profile stuff, I usually recommend doing it on a desktop or a laptop, just because it's a lot easier. That you're going to be doing a lot of typing and stuff. So again, you can do it on your phone or whatever, but it's probably easier if you do it on your computer for this part. So you're going to click on your profile, which is located on the left-hand side of your screen, right here, and then your page will appear. Excuse me. So here you're going to be able to make any changes that you want to your profile. You can put in the name of your business. You only get about 3 lines to write about your business and what you do. So try and include some keywords there and talk about what you do at your business and everything. This is different than a lot of the other social mediums where you have, a full page profile that you can fill out with all this extra information and stuff. Twitter's a little different that way. Now, the other things that you can do is you can change your profile picture and your Twitter header. If you want to, you can come over here to this edit profile button, and you just click on that little camera icon and you can upload a new photo or a new background photo. Obviously, if we've done your Twitter page for you, we're going to put in new graphics there, and so that they'll be the correct dimensions and everything like that. But if you get tired of them and want to change it out for something new or whatever you decide to do, you can go ahead and change those. You just click on that camera button and it will let you choose a file from your computer to upload into that space. The other thing you can do is you can put your business information in. You can put in a little description of your business. Again, you only get 3 lines, but still, you can still fit quite a bit into that amount of space. Then you're going to want to put in your location and your web address. So your website, really important, because you want to give people as many chances as they can to access your website from your social media profiles. So let's talk a little bit about gaining followers. This is a question that we get all the time. And it's really important in Twitter because, if you're just sending out tweets and no one's seeing them, it's not really doing any good. So it's kind of a hands-on process with Twitter. You got to do some social networking. And so here's how we recommend that you get started. The first thing you're going to do is find your audience. So we'd recommend you look for, any competitors that you may have, trade organizations that you may belong to or that do business in your area or your sector, city attractions that are nearby that maybe people, if people are going to the zoo in your area, maybe they would also be in your geographic location, so that they would be someone worth following. Any other places that your audience may reside, anything else that, you may see a little bit of a correlation between, oh, these people follow this thing and they tend to like my business. So, if, NASCAR fans really like whatever product you sell, and maybe it doesn't even have anything to do with that, but there's some sort of correlation there, you can go ahead and follow some folks like that. So we're going to look up all these different things, and you're going to put those in the search bar. So you can do, places to visit, the name of your competitor, any of the associations that you belong to, whatever. So you'll pull up those pages, and this is an example. This is a Mexican chain restaurant that is really popular here in Utah and kind of has a national following. So if you were a competing Mexican restaurant, you could pull up their profile and go, okay, here's Cafe Rio. Let's see what they've got. And what you're going to do is you're going to click on their followers. And you can see they've got about 5,800 followers there. It's a pretty decent number. So click on their followers and it will bring up this thing that you see over here on the right. And you can go through and see who's following Cafe Rio. And what you can do is you go through and you click that you want to follow them, and they'll receive a notification that you're following them. And hopefully they'll follow you back. Now the idea there, you can see the follow button there. The idea is that, if they're interested in Mexican food, they follow Cafe Rio, and you're a Mexican restaurant too, they probably want to find out what you've got to offer too, right? If you're Cafe Rio's competitor or whatever. So, that way they can find out about specials or whatever it is that you're doing. So again, if it's someone who's interested in your competition, they're probably going to be interested in you too. And so that's kind of where that strategy comes in. Another thing that you can do is you can take advantage of these trending topics on Twitter. And this is kind of where the hashtags come in again, right? So look for opportunities to incorporate these into your tweets. These are going to be on the left-hand side of your page. You can see right down here on the lower left-hand side, the trends show up. And basically what happens is these are changing all the time, and it's just kind of whatever is going on that particular day. So you can look here at this particular day that we took the screenshot. Now there's a promoted tweet or promoted trend right up here at the top. It's got this little yellow arrow next to it. And that was a tweet that KFC, or a hashtag that Kentucky Fried Chicken started, my first popcorn nugget. And the reason it's trending is because they paid a lot of money to have it placed in those trending hashtags. You don't need to do that right now, especially if you're a small business. Instead, what you can do is you can look down at this list of what's going on. You know, we obviously took the screenshot around Valentine's Day. You know, because Valentine's Day is trending, rejected candy hearts is trending. And you can just look at what's going on and see, you know, what's going on in the world. Now you're going to start to see things when certain events come up, like the Olympics or the Super Bowl or things like that. People are going to be, you're going to see a lot of hashtags surrounding things like that. So there is a little bit of predictability with something like that, where, you know, Super Bowl, people are going to be trending, that's going to be a trending hashtag. Others sometimes are news events or things like that. You know, you may see the presidential debates or primaries or things like that. If there's a big disaster, a lot of people will put in a hashtag where they're all thinking of something together, and it kind of depends on what, you know, the hashtag ends up being. I don't know if you guys remember a couple years ago, there was a big mass shooting in Paris, France, and a bunch of cartoonists were killed. And the hashtag Je suis Charlie was really popular because the magazine was named Charlie Hebdo. So, you know, we can predict some of them. Others, it's just kind of like, you know, someone will put something out there and it'll be funny and people go crazy about it on Twitter. So I don't know if any of you ever watched the Jimmy Fallon show. He has a lot of fun with this every week. He puts out a hashtag every week that's something funny, like, you know, things my dad says or something like that. And people tweet him back and say the funny things that their dad does or whatever. So that's a fun little thing to Google or watch on YouTube to help you understand hashtags better if you get a chance. So the other thing is that Twitter's going to display the national trends for whatever country you're in. And you can change that by clicking on this change button right here. And you can pick tailored trends for your area. So you can, now they only do it by major metropolitan area. So if you're in a small town or something, you're going to have to pick whatever the closest major metropolis is. But you can see, you know, I've put in that I wanted to change my trends to be local, and they brought up the big cities around me. So Salt Lake City, I could pick Las Vegas, Denver, Colorado Springs, and you can pick whatever one is the best fit for you. And the cool thing about that is that sometimes things might be trending in your area that aren't trending other places. You know, if your local sports team has done something, if there's something going on in your state legislature, whatever it may be. And then you can, the idea is that you can then take those trends and again, write a tweet about them and kind of capitalize it and get in on that conversation. All right, well, that's kind of just a brief overview. I know that's kind of a lot of information to hit you with all at once. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. You can either do that in the Q&A section or over here in the chat. So feel free to go ahead and hop in and ask questions. I know hashtags is one of those things that tends to be a little confusing, and it really is very popular on Twitter. It's starting to be more popular on other social mediums too. You'll see a lot of them pop up on Facebook because people are using Instagram, and Instagram uses a lot of hashtags. So, but they still haven't really taken off in a big way in Facebook in general. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. Another thing, other social mediums don't always call them hashtags either. If you're on Tumblr or something, they're just called tags, even though they're still a hashtag. So again, everybody, you know, each social medium kind of likes to use their own lingo and stuff. Oh, great question here. Do you put hashtags in Facebook posts? Again, you can. They just haven't really kind of taken off there the way they do in Twitter. Facebook has a much better search function that way too, so that things that are trending are going to show up better. So you don't always have to tag them with a hashtag. Again, most of the ones you see on Facebook are going to be where someone has posted on Instagram and used a bunch of hashtags there, and then like they've got their Instagram set up to also post to Facebook. So that's where most of those are coming from. Let's see, it looks like we've got another question here. How do I build my following? So again, that's, the biggest thing is going to be to go in and follow other people and then have them follow you back. Twitter isn't something that you can go out and buy followers with or anything, which we don't really advocate doing anyway, even on Facebook or anything. It's much better to have that organic growth. So again, just go out, spend 5 minutes a day, maybe for a week, and see who you can find to follow. And really, your audience will build up pretty quickly. It's quite amazing how people like to feel like they're being followed, and then they want to know who's following them, right? So if someone followed me, I'd be like, well, who is this person? And I go check them out, and then I'm like, well, I want to see why they're following me, and I want to keep tabs on them. So I follow them back. So it's kind of an etiquette thing. And people especially like it if businesses are following them. If I find that all the time that people, if you're representing a business and you go follow them, they get so excited and are like, oh my gosh, this business is following me. This is so cool. So really fun that way. The other thing you can do is, again, with those hashtags, we write a lot of your posts that go onto Twitter and everything, obviously, and we use a lot of hashtags. And instead of using like the trending hashtags that are hot at that moment, we tend to use kind of more longer term trend hashtags for our content. And the reason for that is that way, if, say you're an insurance agent or something, if we tag something with short-term disability or something like that, that way anybody who's searching for short-term disability insurance stuff on Twitter, you're gonna pop up. So we use kind of some of those industry hashtags a lot to help categorize your information. And that way people who are searching for those types of hashtags are going to see that you have a lot of posts in those areas, and they'll hopefully want to follow you that way. So I hope that makes sense. Any other questions? Shar, it looks like your hand went up. Did you have a question? You can put it in the either in the chat or in the Q&A. Anybody? Okay. Well, we'll probably go ahead and sign off for right now, unless I see any other questions pop in here in the next couple of seconds. But we've got some more webinars about Twitter that you can watch to kind of get a little more in-depth if you want. They're on our blog, s5u.social5.net. So feel free to go check those out if you want and kind of expand on your basic knowledge here. And of course, we're always doing new webinars every Thursday. So again, this is kind of the basics that you need to be able to understand some of those other webinars. So hopefully now you're ready and you can join us for those too. We'll see you guys soon. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out in the meantime. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks so much for coming.